Imagine you're a woman who dedicated 23 years to the construction industry, only to be fired by a new boss for daring to report deadly safety violations. He thought I'd quietly disappear, but I held evidence that could topple the company's corrupt system. Watch to the end to see betrayal turn into spectacular justice. The look on my boss's face when the truth came out will shock you. Where are you watching from? Comment below. My name is Lillian Harper, 46 years old, and until 5 minutes ago, I was the lead foreman at PeakPulse Construction's biggest commercial project in Spokane. 23 years in the industry, 16 as a foreman, and this is the first time I've been fired for doing my job right. I just nodded, took off my hard hat, and placed it on his desk without a word. The site trailer office reeked of coffee and printer ink. Outside, I heard the rumble of excavators expanding the foundation. Next week, the crew would move to steel erection, and now I wouldn't be there to ensure safety. Got anything to say? Miles asked, leaning back in his chair trying to seem relaxed, but I saw him gripping his pen eyes nervous. New bosses always worry when they think someone might make a scene. Nothing to say, I replied. Standing up, I'll clear out my locker. He looked surprised, maybe disappointed. People like Miles need an argument. They need it to justify their actions. Take that away, and they're forced to face their choices. Look, Harper, he said, his tone softening, faking reason. It's not personal. We just have different visions for running a tight schedule. You're old school? Very by the book, but deadlines are deadlines. I nodded again. Got it. Then I turned and walked out. The site was buzzing. Framers were up on the 3rd floor. Electricians were roughing in the service entrance. Concrete crew was finishing the east ramp. Good skilled people with families who deserve to go home every night with all their fingers and bodies intact. People working without fall protection next to unlabeled chemical drums near unmarked live wires. I cleared my locker methodically. Gloves, spare boots, safety manual. A photo of my son Lucas's graduation and my daughter Mia's wedding taped inside the door. 23 years of showing up, doing right, making sure everyone went home, and Miles had been on this site for less than 2 months. As I headed to my truck, Shane from the electrical crew jogged over. Is it true? He fired you over the safety reports. I shrugged, tossing my bag in the cab. Yeah, that's low. Lillian, Shane said quietly. What are you gonna do? I looked back at the site, at the people working in conditions I knew weren't right. Corners cut. That would soon cut someone. Saw Miles watching me from the trailer steps. What I should have done 3 weeks ago, I said. I started in construction right out of high school, hauling lumber, sweeping floors, learned framing, then electrical, then project management, climbed the ranks, honestly. My dad was a steel worker, fell 3 stories when I was 12, broke his back, lived in pain his whole life because a site manager thought guardrails slowed progress. So when I became a foreman, I had one rule above all. Everyone goes home. PeakPulse hired me 5 years ago to fix their safety record after a string of minor accidents threatened their insurance rating. I did it. Clean sites, proper protocols, effective training programs. The company's recordable incident rate was near 0. Productivity went up, not down. Turns out people work better when they're not afraid of dying. Then the Silver Ridge project came $15 million tight, schedule high profile, and the company suddenly brought in Miles Donovan from the Seattle office to speed things up. First week, he was fine-driven, ambitious. He was fine-driven, called me the safety queen like it was a compliment. But by week 2, crack showed Lillian. Do we need to check every harness daily? Weekly's enough, right? This storage setup's overkill. Just tell the guys to be careful with the chemicals. Can the electrician start before lockout tagout? We're behind schedule. Each time I explained the regulations, the reasons, the risks. Each time his smile got tighter, his eyes colder. Then I walked into a morning briefing and heard him tell my crew, get it done, whatever it takes. Just hit the milestones. I stayed after close the trailer door. You can't tell them to skip protocols, I said, evenly, voice firm. I didn't, he shot back. I just don't micromanage people who know their jobs. Protocols keep them alive. He laughed. Actually laughed. Come on, Lillian, you've been in this game long enough to know how it works. Say the right things for visitors and inspections. But day to day, we do what's needed to meet the schedule. Not on my site. That's the problem. His voice hardened. You think this is your site? After that, I started documenting taking photos on my phone, missing guardrails, faulty scaffolding, blocked fire exits, noting every conversation where he pushed back on safety measures, saving copies of unanswered emails, raising concerns. My husband Nathan noticed something was off. You've been quiet lately, he said one night, just site stuff. Rough. Can you handle it? I nodded. Working on it. The breaking point came Tuesday morning. I got in early to check new scaffolding on the west wall. Found 3 young guys working 20 feet up, no fall protection, no harnesses, no guardrails, no safety nets, nothing. I shut it down immediately, sent them to get proper gear. Miles showed up while I was installing temporary guardrails myself. What the hell? Harper, why aren't they working? No fall protection, I said, tightening a bolt, focused. They're gearing up properly now. We're already behind on this section, he said, voice rising. Clients are coming tomorrow. Then we better make sure no one falls to their death before they get here. He stepped closer, lowered his voice. Look, I know you've been here a long time, comfortable, but the industry's changing. We can't compete if we gold plate every safety regulation. I stopped, turned to face him, eyes sharp, gold plate. This is basic fall protection required by law. Required when OSHA's around, he sneered. Come on, Lillian. Be reasonable. Something in me went still. I tried to work with this guy, educate him, find common ground, and suddenly I saw the truth. He knew, he just didn't care. That's my crew up there, I said quietly, voice like steel. Evan's got a kid due next month. Carlos is putting his through college. They trust me to make sure they go home to their families. They're grown men. Safety's their responsibility. I looked at him, really saw him for the first time, eyes unflinching. That's not how it works, not even close. Listen. He sighed. Sign off on the inspection and let's move on. I'll take the heat if anything happens. No, you won't, I said, flat voice certain. You'll blame them or me, whoever's convenient. His face shifted ugly. You're refusing a direct order. I'm refusing to falsify a safety inspection. Yes, then we've got a problem. I nodded slowly, resolute we do. That afternoon, I filed a formal report with the company's safety officer, detailing every violation from the past month, attaching photos, dates, conversations. By evening, I got exactly no response. The next morning, I was called to Miles's office and fired. Driving home, a strange calm settled over me. No more internal conflict. No more trying to work within a broken system. The next step was suddenly clear. I pulled into the driveway, sat for a moment looking at the house Nathan and I built together. The place we raised Mia and Lucas, a life made from honest work. I picked up my phone, made the call I should have made weeks ago. Occupational Safety and Health Administration. This is Mark. My name is Lillian Harper. I said I need to report multiple willful safety violations at a construction site. I can help, ma'am. What kind of violations I've got? Photos, documents, dates, names, everything you need. A pause, typing. Are you currently employed at this site, Ms. Harper? No, I said I was fired this morning for refusing to falsify a safety inspection, I see. Mark said, voice. Sharper interested. In that case, I'll transfer you to our whistleblower protection unit. They'll want to hear this now. OSHA investigator Claire Mitchell met me at a downtown coffee shop the next morning. She was all business. Crisp suit recorder on the table, notebook already half filled before I sat down. Walk me through the timeline. She said after introductions, I laid it all out. The gradual erosion of safety protocols after Miles arrived. The specific violations I documented. The internal report I filed that went nowhere. The confrontation that led to my firing. "And you have evidence of all this?" she asked. I handed her a USB drive. "Every photo is time-stamped, geotagged, daily logs, emails, recorded conversations. It's all there." She tucked it in her bag. "Very thorough, Miss Harper." "I've been in construction my whole life," I said, voice compelling. "I know what happens when safety gets sacrificed for speed." She nodded, jotting more notes. "We'll review this and determine next steps. Whistleblower protection means your former employer can't retaliate." She paused, catching my expression. "But they already did." "They fired me before I filed the report," I said. "Different situation." "Not quite. The law also protects internal safety complaints. We should discuss a wrongful termination claim." She handed me her card. "In the meantime, we'll schedule an unannounced inspection in the next few days. We may need you to verify details." I thanked her and went home feeling better than I had in weeks. The system was working. Things would get fixed. Then my phone rang. It was Shane from the electrical crew. "Lillian, you need to know, Miles held a meeting this morning. Said you were fired for falsifying timesheets, padding hours." "Said an audit's coming." My stomach sank. "That's a lie, everyone who knows you gets it, but he's setting you up." Lillian said, "Anyone caught discussing company business with you will be considered complicit in fraud. He's isolating potential witnesses." I said, thinking aloud, clear-headed. "It's worse," Shane said. "He brought in some company guy, gave a speech about disgruntled employees and protecting the company's reputation. Made everyone sign new NDAs." After hanging up, I called Claire Mitchell immediately to update her. She listened closely, then said, "This changes things. They're actively obstructing. We'll push the inspection up." But an hour later, she called back, voice tight, frustrated. "We hit a snag. Someone at PeakPulse filed a counter-complaint saying you violated company policy by taking confidential documents and photos off-site. They're demanding everything be returned before the inspection proceeds." "That's not how OSHA works," I said, voice like steel. "No, it's not." She agreed. "But they've got sympathetic ears somewhere up high. Someone's trying to slow this down." Now what? We push back, but it'll take time. They're also claiming the sites addressed all safety issues, which means we need to prove violations existed when you raised concerns. I hung up, sat at the kitchen table, staring into space. Eyes resolute. Miles wasn't just covering his tracks. He was building a case against me, making me the problem. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Carlos using a friend's phone. They're erasing evidence, replacing scaffolding, adding missing guardrails, painting lines, working overnight. Thought you should know. They were wiping out every violation I reported. When the inspection came, the site would be perfect." Miles wasn't just protecting himself. He was ensuring nothing changed, and workers stayed at risk, just better hidden. The next morning, I drove to Wildage Diner, a spot near the industrial park where construction crews ate breakfast. Sure enough, some of my old crew was there. Shane, Carlos, Evan in a corner. They waved me over. "Should you guys be meeting me? Could be trouble," I said, voice cautious, sliding into the booth. Shane snorted. "We're off the clock. They can't fire us all." Carlos leaned in. "They're cleaning that place like the president's coming, working round the clock to fix everything you flagged." "So they know exactly what's wrong," I said, voice sharp. "They just didn't care until an inspection loomed." Evan, the youngest, looked worried. "It's not just that I overheard Miles on the phone yesterday, talking about you said they need to dig into your work history, find something to discredit you completely." A chill ran through me. "They're looking for dirt," I said, eyes hard. "Not just Miles," Shane said softly. "I think it's deeper, way higher up." "What do you mean?" He glanced around, pulled out his phone, scrolled to a photo, and handed it to me. It showed an email on someone's computer screen. Subject: Silver Ridge Project Schedule, Recovery Plan. The message was brief. Board approves revised approach. Safety protocols can be adjusted to meet October completion date. Documentation should reflect full compliance, regardless of actual conditions. Silver Ridge model to be applied company-wide if successful bonus structure attached. Sender: Edward Langston, CEO of PeakPulse. Where'd you get this? I asked, mouth dry focused. Miles left his laptop open when he got called out to the site yesterday. I walked by Shane, said I stared at the photo pieces clicking into place. This wasn't just a reckless project manager cutting corners. It was company policy hidden behind a paper trail of fake compliance. They were testing it at Silver Ridge before rolling it out everywhere. October's impossible, I said, voice certain. 2 months behind schedule. That's why they brought Miles. Carlos said, he's the hatchet man. Gets impossible results by breaking every rule, blaming others when it goes wrong. Shane added, there's a rumor about a project in Seattle last year. Guy fell, got badly hurt. Foreman took the fall. Something about improper training, but the real story was substandard equipment. That foreman got blacklisted, Shane said. Couldn't get hired anywhere in the state. Ended up moving east, I think. I pulled out my phone, noted the Seattle project, determined I need to find that foreman. What are you gonna do? Lily and Carlos asked. They're covering their tracks. When the inspection comes, that place will be spotless. And they're coming for you, Evan added. My cousin in HR says they're building a case to make your firing look like you were stealing from the company for years. I looked at these men, good people who just wanted to work and go home safe, eyes steady. People put at risk by executives who'd never set foot on a scaffold. Not yet, I said slowly, voice resolute. But I know this. What they're doing isn't just wrong, it's criminal. And now I see it's not just Miles. The whole company's choosing profit over lives. Driving home a plan took shape in my mind. Crystal clear. I wasn't just exposing Silver Ridge violations anymore, I needed to expose the system. And to do that, I needed more evidence. Evidence they couldn't erase overnight. Finding Simon Caldwell, the former Seattle project foreman, wasn't hard. A few calls to old industry contacts pointed me to Boise, where he was working as a day laborer. A big step down for someone with 15 years of management experience. He agreed to meet me at a truck stop outside town. When I got there, I barely recognized him from his LinkedIn photo. The confident, smiling man was replaced by someone who looked a decade older. Deep lines around his eyes, permanently tired. Thanks for coming, I said, sliding into the booth, demeanor strong. Wasn't sure I would, he admitted. PeakPulse isn't a name I like hearing. I get it. I was a foreman for them until recently, I said, voice resolute. His eyes narrowed. Fired for raising safety concerns? Sound familiar. His look said it all. Let me guess, he said bitterly. Miles Donovan. I nodded. Same playbook, different victim. He stared into his coffee. They'll destroy you like they did me. When they're done, you won't get hired. You'll be a thief, a liar, maybe even criminally negligent. Only if I let them, I said, voice like steel. I'm fighting back and I need your help. He gave a humorless laugh. What can I do? I tried filing complaints, went to the press. No one cared. One injured worker is a statistic, and PeakPulse has good lawyers. But it's not just one worker, is it? I pressed, gently, focused, not just your project. He was quiet for a long time. No, he said finally, it's not. Over the next hour, Simon spilled everything, how Miles was brought in to rush their project. Safety violations became routine. Simon's reports were ignored or lost. When Tom Ellis fell from faulty scaffolding, Miles had paperwork ready showing Simon approved it despite known defects. I didn't sign that inspection, Simon insisted. They forged my signature. But by the time I could prove it, I was fired, blamed Tom's family, sued me personally, not the company. Did you keep records? I asked, voice firm. Photos, emails, anything. Some, he said hesitantly. After it all fell apart, I focused on surviving, moving on. But I kept copies of everything. Haven't done anything with it. Will you share it with me? Combine it with what I have? I asked, eyes steady. He looked at me. For what? OSHA's a joke. Underfunded, toothless. The press doesn't care unless someone dies, and PeakPulse has friends in high places. I'm not going to those places. I said, voice strong, I'm thinking bigger. If this is happening across multiple sites, same playbook, same people involved. Understanding dawned in his eyes. You're talking about a pattern, a corporate conspiracy, he said, alert. I nodded. Willful repeated federal safety violations are a criminal offense. With enough evidence, it's not just fines. People go to jail. The FBI and Department of Labor have investigative units that work with the Justice Department on criminal cases. For the first time, I saw a spark of hope on his face. You really think you can make it stick? Not alone, I said. Voice resolute. I need your evidence, and I need you to speak up. He was silent for a long time. They took everything from me, he said finally, voice hard. My career, my reputation, my retirement. Tom nearly lost his life. His jaw tightened. What do you need me to do? The next week I worked nonstop, driven by relentless determination. I combined my documents with Simon's building a comprehensive case, showing a pattern across multiple projects. I reached out to former PeakPulse employees through industry forums and social media groups, finding 3 other foremen with similar stories from different states. Meanwhile, I got updates from my old crew about the Silver Ridge site. The rushed safety fixes were just for show. Once Miles thought the heat was off, corners were cut again, workers were still at risk. Friday morning, 10 days after my firing, I walked into the Spokane Department of Labor office with a USB drive, a stack of printed documents, and Simon Caldwell by my side. By afternoon, the wheels were turning. Monday morning, 7:15 a.m. I parked across from the Silver Ridge site, waiting, utterly focused. The timing had to be perfect, 7:30. The crew gathered for the daily briefing. Miles stood on a makeshift platform, clipboard in hand, confident, probably pushing them to go harder, faster. 7:42, right on schedule, 3 black SUVs pulled into the site entrance. 8 people in windbreakers marked DOI on the back Department of Labor office of Inspector General. 2 local police cars followed. I watched through binoculars as they approached the security gate, flashed credentials, and moved in. One team went straight to the site office. Another fanned out cameras and tablets in hand. Miles saw them coming, froze mid-sentence. Even from a distance, I saw the blood drain from his face. He recovered quickly, flashed a smile, stepped forward to intercept. The lead investigator, who I'd spoken to multiple times that week, didn't break stride. She handed him a document, a federal inspection warrant, and brushed past him to the office. 2 investigators split off, approaching workers who'd stopped to watch the chaos. They took statements on the spot, documenting everything before anyone could be coached or threatened. Through the binoculars, I saw Shane pointing out the northwest scaffolding, where I knew guardrails were still missing despite being logged as complete. Another investigator photographed an electrical panel I'd noted for improper grounding. The site was shut down in 30 minutes. Signed 17. Miles was escorted to an SUV, face pale. Not arrested, not yet, but taken for formal questioning. 2 hours later, investigators walked CEO Edward Langston himself through the site, pointing out each violation, each falsified record, each piece of evidence that matched exactly what I'd provided. I didn't need to stay and watch the rest. The system was finally working. 3 months later, I sat in a conference room at NextCore Global, reviewing safety protocols for a new mixed-use development downtown. As the new director of safety, I had authority to approve or reject any construction practice across their nationwide projects. My phone buzzed with news. I allowed myself a small smile as I read the headline. Construction executives indicted on federal charges for willful safety violations. The article detailed how PeakPulse's CEO, COO, and 3 project managers, including Miles Donovan, faced criminal charges for conspiring to violate workplace safety laws, falsifying records, and obstructing justice. If convicted, they faced heavy fines and up to 5 years in federal prison. The company was barred from bidding on government contracts for 10 years. Simon Caldwell was fully vindicated. Compensation from his wrongful termination, lawsuit would fund his retirement. More importantly, he got his reputation back. My phone rang. Carlos now a foreman under me at NextCore. You see the news, he asked, no preamble, just did. They say the Silver Ridge building might get demolished over structural flaws from rushed work. There was satisfaction in his voice. Karma's something. Doing it right from the start is too. I said voice content. After hanging up, I walked to the window looking out at the new project site. Eyes-proud workers in proper safety gear moved confidently across a well-organized site. Every guardrail in place, harnesses checked, crews properly trained. No one falls on my watch, no corners cut, no one chooses profit over lives. Standing there with Spokane's sunlight glinting off workers laboring safely, I thought about the days I nearly stayed silent in the face of injustice. Miles and PeakPulse tried to erase me from the industry for speaking out. But from that betrayal, I built a legacy ensuring every worker goes home safe to their family. My victory isn't watching Miles get punished. It's knowing every guardrail, every harness, every protocol I put in place is saving lives. If this story resonates with you, share it. Comment about a time you stood up for what's right. I read every comment, and if you want more stories of justice and resilience, hit subscribe. Together, we'll keep everyone safe.